Picture a busy street in 1640s Edinburgh. A woman sells fish and cakes from a small shop near the city gates. She argues loudly. She doesn't back down. She throws out sharp words when she's angry. Now, imagine this. After one of those arguments, a neighbor falls suddenly ill, paralyzed, unable to speak, drenched in sweat, writhing in pain. To us, it sounds like coincidence or disease or hardship. But to them, it looked like witchcraft. And that belief would drag one woman into a long, complex trial and end with a verdict that cost her life. Her name was Agnes Finnie. Records describe her as a shopkeeper and trader, someone involved in everyday practical survival, selling basic goods, extending credit, chasing debts, dealing with customers who could pay and customers who couldn't. And that matters, because the accusations against her weren't centered on secret rituals. They were rooted in the pressure cooker reality of neighbor disputes, arguments over money, over food, over respect. Here's the pattern that builds the case against Agnes Finnie, and it's a pattern you'll see again and again in Scottish witch trials. There's a clash, an insult, a refusal to pay, a business disagreement, a public fighting, basically a shouting match. Agnes is said to respond with rage, threats, or curses. Not long after, the other person suffers something serious. That suffering becomes proof that her words carried unnatural power. The surviving case summaries list illnesses and harms, like paralysis, loss of speech, sweating fits, pain, even broken legs, and something described as bloody flux. A frightening, bloody illness in early modern terms. One of the most quoted incidents connected to Agnes Finnie is almost painfully ordinary at the start. A young man mocks her, calling her Annie Winnie. Agnes takes it as humiliation. She reacts with fury. And then, according to the story recorded later, the young man is struck with a palsy, a paralysis, soon after. Now, here's the important point for your viewers. This is not modern proof of anything supernatural. It's a record of what people claimed and what the courts were prepared to treat as evidence. But in a fearful community, these stories spread fast. And once the label witch sticks, every bad outcome becomes part of a growing chain. The case also includes a darker accusation. Not just that she caused harm, but that she did so with demonic support. She was described as being in company with the devil, consulting with him. That matters because in Scottish law at the time, witchcraft wasn't just bad luck magic. It was treated as a spiritual crime, something tied to the devil, rebellion against God, and danger to the whole community. So the rumors around Agnes didn't stay at "she cursed me." They escalated into "she's in league with something evil." And there's one detail that steps fully into the supernatural, an accusation of apparitions. Records summarize it as an apparition of Agnes and her daughter, said to have appeared or haunted someone after a fighting. Even here, notice the theme: conflict first, then fear, then a story of supernatural retaliation. And once a community is primed to believe, an ordinary night terror, a nightmare, a sickness after childbirth, anything can be reinterpreted as a witch's work. The case summary also hints at the everyday folk strategies people use to handle witchcraft fears. It notes attempts to remove a witch's malice with appeasement, including a gift of ale, and it mentions an argument that prayer, while normally holy, could be treated as demonic if used as a charm, showing just how blurred the line could become between religion, folk practice, and accusation. So by this stage, Agnes Finnie isn't just sharp-tongued in the public mind, she's dangerous, and the stories around her are now big enough to pull in the authorities. Agnes is imprisoned in the city's Tolbooth, the main jail and courtroom complex. Old Tolbooth. The case date start is recorded as the 8th of July, 1644, and she is listed as incarcerated from July 1644 in the Tolbooth. What's striking is what the record doesn't show. No recorded torture, no recorded ordeal, no recorded confession. That makes this case unusual compared to many other witch trials. Agnes's story becomes less about forced confession and more about legal argument, witnesses, and a courtroom battle. And here's a detail I love, because it shows Agnes as a real person, trying to resist the machine closing around her. The trial record notes that she lodged a complaint against a man named Harry Morrisson for falsely accusing her. It went as far as the Privy Council of Scotland, and the council ordered him and Edinburgh officials to appear. So Agnes isn't simply passively accused. She argues, she petitions, she tries to use the system to defend herself, and the system still keeps her locked up. The court first met on the 11th of December 1644, but the proceedings were postponed because her defense advocates had not yet spoken to her. The formal trial date is recorded as the 18th of December 1644, held in the Tolbooth. So imagine it, you've been in prison for months, accused of being a witch, and when the court finally moves, it still turns into delays in procedure. That gap, that waiting, is part of the punishment. The record lists a serious prosecution team, including Sir Thomas Hope of Craigle as prosecutor, supported by other legal figures. And Agnes had defense advocates too, named as John Nisbet and John Lawty. This is not the quick village panic you sometimes picture. This is central court machinery. Lawyers, arguments, experts. The record even notes complicated legal reasoning and defense pleadings. The trial notes give you a sense of the atmosphere. It states, the assize, the jury were clamoring in the courtroom. The day before being sworn in, it says the trial lasted 2 days, and it adds something chilling. The assize called witnesses extrajudicially outside the formal structure you might expect. In plain English, the process wasn't just about calm evidence. It was charged, emotional, and surrounded by pressure. The record lists medical experts, physicians, and a surgeon appearing as expert witnesses. And it also lists authorities cited, including Jean Bodin and William Perkins. Names associated with demonology, arguments, used in witchcraft, prosecutions. So in that courtroom, Agnes isn't only facing her neighbours' stories. She's facing an entire worldview. Law, religion, and learned texts, all reinforcing the idea that witchcraft is real and that people like her must be stopped. Here's another unusual element. The jury did not deliver a quick verdict. The trial notes say the jury deliberated until the 8th of February 1645. So this case drags on. It grinds. And while it grinds, Agnes stays imprisoned. And then comes the verdict. Guilty. Sentence. Execution. The record states she was executed on the 6th of March 1645 at Castle Hill. Method: strangle and burn. That phrase is brutal, but it's precise. In many Scottish executions for witchcraft, the person was strangled first, and then the body was burned as a final statement that the threat was destroyed. So when you strip it down to its bones, what actually happened? A woman lived loudly, argued hard, and survived through trade and credit. A community decided her anger was dangerous. Illness followed ordinary disputes, and fear gave those illnesses a supernatural explanation. Agnes Finnie tried to fight back, even petitioning the Privy Council, but the trial went ahead, and the verdict was guilty. If you want, in the next video we can look at the mechanics of how Scottish witch trials proved guilt, why curses and timing mattered so much, and how a community's fear became courtroom evidence. Drop a comment with next case, and I'll write the next one in the same format. Incident gives arrest, gives trial, gives verdict. Blessed be